In today's video, we are going to create some ad creatives, but first we are going to add a new word to our vocabulary, which is going to be in-asset copy. So in-asset copy is basically the text part of a static image. So the in-asset copy can also have a headline and then a description, but in our example, it's only a headline because it's one text. But if it would have a smaller clarification below, then that would be the description part of the in-asset copy. So I created a copywriting prompt where you can fill out your service, your offer, your goal, your target audience, and we pasted this into AI. We used Gemini and ChatGPT. Here are the outputs where we created the ad copies, and we are going to continue this conversation, and then we are going to ask AI to create some in-asset copies for us that we can use in our designs. So let's go back to the document, and I have a very simple prompt. For this example, I'm only going to use Gemini. So again, it's the same conversation where we had the primary text. The reason, because the AI already has an idea about our offering. So let's add the prompt. And then here we have the 5 static asset ad copies that we can use in our ads. So the easiest way to design your ads if you have no experience is to open a Canva account. And then this is how it's going to look like. Then click on social media and search for Square. And then we need the Instagram post Square. The reason for Square designs is because this is the most used on Meta ads. It is going to appear on your Meta and Instagram feed. And then usually these formats get 90% of the impressions. So this is the most important. Now inside Canva, there are lots of different templates that you can use. Here on the left side, you can also describe an ideal design. You can just click any of these and then change the text, change the images, but we are going to keep it simple with an empty ad. And then we are just going to click text on the left side, and we are going to select heading. And then here you can add your headline for your ad. So let's go back to Gemini, and then the highlighted text is going to be our in-asset headline. So we are going to paste it, and let's select the text and make sure this is bold because this is the primary headline. And then once it's selected, let's copy and paste. And then the second part is going to be the subheadline of our ad. So let's go back into Gemini and copy the non-highlighted part. And make sure we again select this and make sure this is not bold. So now we have a headline, an in-asset copy headline, and an in-asset copy description. Next, we can play around with the sizing because the headline should be usually double the size of the description. So the description is 32. So we are going to use 64 for our headline. We are going to move it to the top and then make sure the 2 sentences are on 2 different lines. So I'm just going to hit enter. And then I'll just move the subheadline below the headline. Now, something that's missing from this ad is a call to action. So for that, you'll have to navigate to elements and then here select shapes. I usually use this one. If you can't find it, you can search for rounded square and it's going to show up. And inside we can add a call to action. So call to action is basically what we want our audience to do after seeing our ad. Now in this ad example, I'm promoting my school community and I want them to join. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's make sure we adjust the rounded square as we want. We can change the corner rounding, make it more round, make it more square. I'm just going to leave it at 40, let's say. 40. We can also select the background color for the button. I'm just going to keep this orange. Now we are going to add some copy inside. So let's grab the subheadline and paste it, copy and paste. And let's add the call to action. So for you, it can be book a call. Once you have the call to action, make sure to drag and drop and make sure this is centered perfectly. In my case, it's not going to be book a call, but join today. And as easy as that, we have our first ad. Next, we just need to duplicate using this plus icon. And then we are just going to overwrite the headline and the description. So we go back to Gemini, select the second headline for the second ad, copy and paste, and then again, grab the description, paste, and then we can play around with the spacing to make sure it's more even. So now this headline is only one line compared to the previous one. So I can adjust it to make sure it's closer. And then Canva also has these guidelines to make sure now you can see that the spacing is perfectly even. And you have your second ad ready. Next, you can go to duplicate again, and then repeat it to create all your 5 ads. Now, once you have all your 5 ads, all you need to do is download the ads. So on the top right corner, you have the option to share and then download. And then make sure to only select the current page. And let's click done. Make sure it's an image. So PNG file is suggested. Let's click done and then download. Now Canva is going to create a name for your ad, but I suggest you update the name of the file. So I usually name my images after the year we are in and then the week we are currently in. So this is 2026 week 3, and I'm going to say image 1. And next, if you download the second image, let's scroll down, again share, download, current page, make sure it's a PNG, and then click done. And now you just need to click on the previous ad and then update the name from image 1 to image 2. And then make sure to repeat the process for all the 5 ads. I'm also going to create a specific video on the naming conventions that I use for the ad copies for the ads, but it's also going to be in the video where I set up our first campaign. So make sure to check that out. If you have any questions, drop a comment, I'll make sure to respond, and then I'll see you in the next one.